What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down the difference between a 5-star quarterback and a 0-star quarterback. So I hope this video can help you guys out. I hope it can teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you're a QB and you'd like to get some work in with us this offseason, we are traveling out to 15 more states across the country for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. So next up, we're going to be coming out to San Francisco, Orlando, New Orleans, Charlotte, Dallas, the DMV, St. Louis, Honolulu, Boston, Cleveland, Austin, Texas, Seattle, Newark, Denver, and finishing it off in Los Angeles. So if you guys are local to those areas, we'd love to have you out to one of our camps, fellas. Check out that very first link in the description below for more information. Let's get started. So now, this first example here, this is going to be from Dante Moore. He's a 5-star quarterback. I believe he's committed to the University of Oregon. So main thing I want to talk about is how he's able to take the ball back and his ball carriage, because you notice this in a lot of high-level college guys, the way that they throw the ball. They call it the backstroke. So you watch how he throws the ball. Very clean, very twitchy, right? Now, this is an example of a quarterback who doesn't have any stars, and we're going to talk about why he gets to this position where he lifts the ball like this, because that is not what college coaches are looking for. They're looking for a guy who's got that whip, that twitchiness to their arm. So how do you get to that specific point? So let's look at Moore's mechanics first. So you watch how he's holding this ball. Very relaxed position. I think that's something that a lot of passers need to have, and especially though you see those guys that go play Division I ball, they're all very relaxed in the pocket. They have that twitchy motion. There's no wasted motion, and they have a very clean very clean throwing motion, I should say. But it starts with being relaxed. The days of holding the ball way up by your ear or putting it on the shelf where you're super tense or having this back elbow up is over, because that's just going to flaw your mechanics. Because a lot of mechanics now, everybody should know this if you're familiar with this channel, is based on the hip rotation and weight transfer. So when you go to drive with your lower half and you're trying to get this back hip to rotate through, you need to make sure that your arm is in a good position to get a whip on it, right? So when you go back with the ball, you get to this opposite L position. This is called a backstroke position. Now, when you're at this backstroke position, your front shoulder's closing, you're getting to that L. That is when your hips should be driving through. But this puts you in a position to generate torque and to generate velocity and, quite frankly, arm speed, which is what you need to play at the highest level of college football. If he were to lift the ball straight up to that vertical L, like we saw with the last quarterback, what would happen is his sequence would be off. If he lifts the ball up and his hips are starting to drive through, but he skips this step of the motion, the shoulders will end up coming through before the hips. To get velocity, to get throw power, your hips have to beat the arm. Your back hip has to be going through before this football does, because that takes pressure off your shoulder, pressure off your elbow. And if you want to play football at that highest possible level, you cannot be throwing all arm. It will not work and you won't have velocity. So we have to make sure that the hip goes through first by getting to this opposite L angle. Now, it does not have to be a perfect L. Not every quarterback is the same. We just need some kind of backstroke and let the hip rotation bring you up to 90 so the hips can clear those shoulders. So let's play this again full speed, and then we're going to look at that second clip where the quarterback actually lifts the ball up and it's not the best throwing mechanic angle. So watch how he is with his arms. You see how he's very tense. He's holding the ball kind of away from his chest. This is a very tense upper half place to be, right? So how I would correct this quarterback is try to, relax your elbows a little bit, bring the football closer to your chest, because when that ball's away from you, you've essentially already gotten to that backstroke position that we're talking about. So you see when he goes to throw, he lifts it to the vertical L. So as the front foot's getting down, as his hip is going through, he's skipped the step of the backstroke and he's just lifting up. So what did we say in the last clip? The shoulders are going to beat the hips, and that will take away torque, that will take away velocity. You want to think of throwing a football like you're hitting a baseball, hitting a golf club. When you're hitting a baseball, or let's use golf because that's the easy one, you take the club back and you pivot off that back foot and your hips bring the club down. Same thing when throwing a football. You're a rotational athlete. But imagine if you started with the club up in the air and let's say imagine if you were already going through with your arms. You never took the club back. You'd have no power on it. If you just had a front swing, you'd have no power on your golf swing. So when you lift the ball like this, same time the foot strike happens, watch what happens here. The shoulders end up going before the hip does. And now he's got some other issues with his base that we'll talk about in some future clips, or not some future clips, but some clips later in this video. But you see how the shoulders beat the hips. The shoulders are ahead, hip is locking out, foot's kind of trailing behind, and that solely has to do with that backstroke. If he could bring that ball in a little bit tighter to his chest, get to that L as the front foot is getting down, that hip rotation could bring him up to here and the hips could clear the shoulders. That is something that you see a lot of guys at the next level have. You watch every single quarterback, fellas, on Sundays that plays in the NFL. What do they all? They're very relaxed. They have a quick release. And they're getting to that opposite L. No QB lifts the ball and is consistent. So if you have that habit, let's try to break it. If you have dreams and aspirations of playing college football, you cannot throw the ball where you lift it straight up in the air. That's going to limit your arm strength, and you won't be able to make those throws that are required at the next level. So let's play this clip again, full speed again. Just make sure we are relaxed, fellas. Make sure we're getting to that backstroke, and we are not lifting that ball. So this is a clip from the same guy, Dante Moore, and this is from the Elite 11. So this is a great example of the kind of quick release that you need to play at the next level. So at the next level, that those 5-star guys, they're all playing Power 5 schools, right? They're playing Oregon, Pac-12 schools, SEC, Alabama, all of that. And every single player on that dang field is going to be fast. So as a quarterback, you cannot have any wasted motion in what you do. And I think this is one of the big problems that I see with a lot of high school guys that are unranked, that don't have offers, that maybe struggle a little bit. It's they have this load up with the ball. So let's play this full speed. So this quarterback here, it's Dante Moore. Watch how quick his release is. There's no hinge in his release. So what I mean by hinge is a lot of quarterbacks, when they go to throw, they will lift the ball up to their ear. Or not even necessarily to their ear. Maybe they hold it low. Maybe they lift it up just a little bit, but they load up for that split second. Now, here's the thing. In high school, you're going to be able to get away with it. Quite frankly, because maybe 2 people on the other side of the ball will be playing college football. Depending on where league you're at, I understand sometimes you get teams with all studs. But like let's say you're playing just a regular average team, maybe 2 of those guys are playing D1 ball, not even. Maybe 2 of those guys are playing college ball just in general. So you could get away with it. They're not as fast. But when you get to that next level, you're playing Power 5 ball, Division I ball, I bet your ass those guys are all going to be fast. They wouldn't be on that defense if they weren't fast. So having hinges in your motion is a problem. But you see how Moore, he goes straight from this pre-throw position. He's already loaded. He just gets the ball out of his hands. He just taps the ball. It's out. That is the quick stroke that we are looking for, fellas. That is how you get the ball out of your hands on time and can anticipate throws. Because, let's draw up a concept, for example. And you see, obviously, good ball. Obviously, it's accurate on the money, but it's quick. But let's draw up a concept. Let's say, for example, outside receiver, you're running a dig. Let's say the slot receiver right here is running like a whip route. So we're trying to read this outside backer. Let's say it's like a 4-3. He runs it there, so you're looking at this dig first window. But you got this Mike backer right here. So as a QB, if your eyes go to the right, that Mike backer is going to start trailing to the right. And so let's say I'm looking at the whip. I see that it's covered. I go back to the dig, but I have to load up to throw. That's wasted motion, and that Mike could take it away. But imagine if we're looking at the whip, we just reset, it's out right away without any wasted motion. That Mike has no chance because we're hitting that throw first window. That is how it can apply, fellas. So let's play this full speed, and then we'll look at an example of a load up. Now, again, this load up is very subtle, fellas. It is extremely subtle, but trust me, you see it so often, and you see it so often with younger quarterbacks whose coaches don't correct the habit. I'm telling you this now so you can correct this habit and not have this be a problem in the future. I'm not just going to let you get away with it because of freshman ball, JV ball, varsity, you've had success with it. I want you to treat it like you're playing college ball, where every player is fast on that field. So let's watch this clip from this quarterback. Now, like I said, you may not even be able to tell on that specific example what he does. But you see how he's holding the ball down here by his chest. Now watch what he does when he gets ready to throw. He lifts it, right? Holds the ball low, lifts it up high, and loads up. He lifts the ball to that shelf. That's what gets him in a position to throw. We cannot start with the ball low and then lift it up, because that's a hinge in your motion. Now, again, that is very subtle, and I'm not going to be that guy that's going to tell you that, oh, you lifting the ball up is a tell to the defense and they know the ball's going to be coming. It happens so fast, that's not a tell. But I'm saying for timing purposes, that's when it's an issue. Because again, for that same play concept, that dig pivot, I love using that example because it's simple. You hinge up, like let's say you're dropping back and that ball's at your chest, that's not there, then you reset to the dig, you have to load up. That takes too much dang time, you guys. That split second difference may not make a difference in high school, but I bet your ass it will make a difference in college when everybody on that field is fast, runs a 4.5, 4.4, especially the secondary. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Again, fellas, this is not a bad ball, just we cannot load up. When we load up and we have to get myself loaded before every single throw, that is a bad, bad problem. Okay, so now, this next example here is going to be same thing for Dante Moore. Now, again, 5-star guy, and I show this not to be, critiquing the guy because obviously he's going to Oregon. Obviously, he's a stud. But I want to show you this in case you're that guy who's maybe not a 5-star guy. That guy who's, at first year of high school ball, but you're having bad games. Maybe you had a bad game, you had a bad practice, you had a couple bad throws here and there, and your mechanics are off, and you're worried. You're thinking maybe, that other quarterback, I have goals to play Division I football. That other quarterback, he never makes a mistake. He never does anything wrong. He's going to Oregon, so if I ever want to play that level, I can't make mistakes, and it starts eating at you. It starts getting in your head a little bit. But I show this video to show you that mechanically, and a lot of times it can affect you in games, these 5-star guys don't have everything perfect because they're still high school kids, and that's completely fine. You're not supposed to have it figured out yet. But let's watch this example here. I want you to watch the mechanics of this kind of like overstride that he has that can limit your arm strength as a QB. So when we throw, you want to obviously get your hips involved. But to get your hips involved, you need to be able to have a quick front strike with your front foot. That back hip needs to be able to rotate through. And this back foot needs to be like kind of loaded underneath your shoulder, like he has right now. Now, this is one of the common problems that you see a lot of quarterbacks have, is that they push, instead of like shifting weight from their back leg to their front leg and rotating here, what they do is they'll push off of their foot. So when you push off your foot like a pitcher, what ends up happening? The stride goes long. Because when you have a good base, when your back foot is loaded and it's underneath your shoulder, your base is obviously a little bit narrow, right? And that's fine. But when you push off of the foot, it's almost like a pitcher. That stride gets really long. And now when that stride gets long, you see how his back leg extends because he's pushing. Now the foot is way outside his shoulders. He is going to be throwing this thing all upper half. And doing this will not fly at the next level. You will not be able to hit a comeback from the opposite hash with this kind of a base. You won't be able to throw a timing speed out with this kind of base. Now, again, 7-on-7, it's a small field. There's no pass rush, no defense. You can get away with it. But watch what happens here when he goes to rotate through. The hips lock out. You see that hinge right there with his front hip? His weight is not transferring. His weight is staying shifted backwards. So watch what happens with the shoulders. The shoulders end up beating the hips. You see how he's here and that back hip trails behind, that front hip hinges out. There's a little bit of a lean out of there. That's because he had the long stride and he pushed off of the foot. A common problem that so many young guys have. So I showcase this just so you could see it, that these 5-star guys, they're not invincible guys. Like that ranking don't mean shit. They still have a lot of stuff to work on, just like how any regular high school kid has to work on stuff. Now, granted, they have a lot of things that they do very well, and they're playmakers and they're very talented, which is why they're going to be going to the schools that they're going to. But I say this, do not get discouraged if you're that guy who has issues with their mechanics, who maybe threw a pick, had a bad practice. It happens to everybody, and it happens to the best guys that you see every day being publicized. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Not a bad throw, but those mechanical habits, the only reason we emphasize that is so we can be consistent. And consistency is key, and you have to know those things that will get you be a better player, get you more consistent on the field, and what those college coaches will look for. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you'd like a full and you'd like to come out to one of our off-season training camps, we are hosting 15 this year, full off-season for us. So we're coming out to these 15 states like we mentioned above, or earlier in this video, I should say. So check out that very first link below if you're interested, want to come out and get some work in with us for 2 whole days, 2-day training camps, you guys. Very first link below. I'll see you next time.